What's up, people? This is the Nation Girl 30 here, and once again, guys, we are doing another Knights of the Wrestling Ring, and I have two of my favorite knights, Brendan Goins and Ervin Griffin. These guys, we have like so much to talk about, especially now that it's officially the road to WrestleMania. There is so much speculation on what's going on with some of these matches, and there's a lot of heated debate when it comes to one feud in particular. And let's get started with that. Is it given that a lot of people in Philadelphia, for those that have watched the Royal Rumble, was not so keen into seeing Roman Reigns win the Royal Rumble? There was issues. Not only that, there was a lot of issues with riots. There were people being blocked in. There were a lot of angry folks. But then when Daniel Bryan came in, they actually started a feud with them. But lately, there has been kind of like a mixed bag. There have been people that literally have been giving pity cheers to Roman Reigns and then boos to Daniel Bryan and vice versa. Now,
Personally, I don't think it should have been done because not only do I not think Roman Reigns is ready, I don't think WWE did enough to convince people he's ready. I mean, let's be honest. That Superstar of the Year thing. I was born in 1974. I have seen presidential that weren't this rigged. I mean, it was so obviously just handed to him when Daniel Bryan should have won it. But you could have made an argument for Brock Lesnar. And God help me for saying this. You could have even made more of an argument for John Cena than Roman Reigns.
oh gosh.
That's how much bullshit. Yeah, that's how much bullshit of Roman Reigns winning Superstar of the Year was. You could have made more of an argument for John Cena than you could have Roman Reigns. And it's not entirely Roman Reigns' fault. It's a lot of it is W because before he got injured, they didn't really do enough to get him ready or to convince people that this is a new guy. I know some people say, well, y'all should just shut up because you wanted new guys. Well, here's a new guy. Yeah, but back when I was growing up watching the NWA and WWF, before it was WWE, they actually would convince you was ready. They rarely hot-shotted somebody. I mean, there was exceptions. They kind of hot-shotted Hulk Hogan for his first title run. Yeah. But Hogan was already from the AWA.
Yeah.
And people knew who he was thanks to the Rocky movie. So they got away with it with him. And you might say, well, they hot-shotted Brock Lesnar. But Brock Lesnar, he was that rare bird. You could get away with that. Plus, they did build him up. Granted, it was only a few months, but they built him up properly up until his title win.
WCW did it with
against
Goldberg. I agree with that.
Right. Oh, yeah, WCW actually did Goldberg correctly. And another one I can think of to a certain extent, Batista. Granted, he pretty much, his only ever title besides the World Championships, tag team title he held with Ric Flair. But they built him up before they let him beat Triple H at WrestleMania 21.
That's true. That's true. No real Plus, with Batista, like wasn't he? But with Batista, wasn't he a part of Evolution, which kind of helped his career too?
Yes.
You could argue they did. Bobby Lashley too.
Yeah. I guess they did the exact same thing with Bobby Lashley, but it's like with these two guys, like with Brock Lesnar, with Bobby Lashley, they're beasts. They look like beasts. They own it. Like, you can tell they own it. They know it. If they beat you down, they tell you they're gonna beat you down, you know they can do it. And with those people like that, you can get away with it. The one thing about Roman Reigns, do not get me wrong, but in my opinion, Roman Reigns just seems overrated. There's not really anything about him that separates his character from the rest. And he hasn't had enough time to build his character up and to where it could become well seasoned. He was out for 6 months. Their biggest mistake, like Ervin said, in my opinion, was the fact that they gave this guy Superstar of the Year when he was gone for 6 months, knowing that Daniel Bryan's triumph at WrestleMania 30 should have been the one that won. Because he literally turned the entire thing around. And I guess we can get into Daniel Bryan now that kind of transition there. But Daniel Bryan, people keep saying that, oh, a bunch of butthurt people are just mad that it wasn't Daniel Bryan, and Daniel Bryan don't need to be there because he gets injured too easily. I mean, the thing is this. His storyline was built up for a year and a half. That was their biggest mistake. We wouldn't have liked Daniel Bryan as much as we did if we didn't really see this guy struggle. And we saw him struggle for a year and a freaking half. And seeing him finally reach that brass ring, finally getting the gold, only to lose it within 2 days. I'm sorry. That kind of like you're like, no, we want more. And I mean, and that's how they built it up. They built up Daniel Bryan so well. And it was just too early for Roman. I guess that's just me. And Stone Cold said the exact same thing.
Well, you're not going to like this, but I actually didn't mind him winning the Royal Rumble.
Really?
Because here's my thing.
I sure was not at Roman himself, though. It was at WWE for not building it properly. Hey, go right ahead, man. Go for it.
This rant, I have a rant about the Roman thing and Daniel Bryan. So, no problem. Okay. This is just a short one because I can understand both sides, but the Daniel Bryan thing, I'm not going to pull any fucking punches. I'm sorry. The whole Roman Reigns winning the Royal Rumble, for me, it's a case of hypocrisy to the utmost, because how many times did you hear over the years, WWE never pushes anybody different. WWE never uses anybody different. When? Okay, so Vince picks a new guy that has never been in the main event by himself. And what do? You shit on him and you crap on him because he's a machine product and not your boy. Okay? If you're going to do that, why even ask for other people? Oh, we want new people, but only if it's the one we pick. Fuck you. Give me a damn break.
Oh, I get that.
I got you. I guess I could get that. I can get that.
I hope you get where we're coming from, though, Brandon. I mean, we actually don't hate Roman. I can't speak for Regina, but I can speak for myself.
Oh, no, that's not directed at either of you.
Roman Reigns at all.
No,
that's not directed at either of you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't hate him at all. I just wish they would have built him up better before giving him that slot.
Yeah, I mean,
I agree. He should have had some more build.
I'll be honest, I want Daniel Bryan to win. But I would have been more okay with Roman winning if they would have built him up better.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the main thing.
Bringing it up made it worse.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the main thing. It's just the fact that it was just so poorly done. I mean, when it comes to storyline, if you want to have people literally fall in love with the character or at least care about what happens to the character, you got to have a decent build. And that's what happens when you put storyline into sports entertainment. It's got to be done right. And in his case, it wasn't. Because Royal Rumble itself was pretty much the most one-sided Royal Rumble I've ever watched. It just seemed like it took so freaking long for people to actually get in the ring. And as soon as somebody got in the ring, they got knocked out and they were out for like 10 minutes. I mean, it literally felt so long and it felt so gapped that it just didn't feel like a free-for-all like it should have been with HBK. Like when HBK was in there, good grief, he was just battling it like he was trying to survive. And for when he was in the Rumble. But when Roman was in there, he just knocked out like 4 or 5 guys, and it was a huge gap in between, and it just didn't feel like a war. And I guess I expected it to be like a war, and I would have been fine with that the way he won. But it's also a given that about 2 weeks prior, that you can tell that nobody really wanted Roman to win. And even though Roman did win, you could tell like months and months in advance when we found out that Daniel Bryan was going to be putting his name in the hat, people wanted that. So why did they even go for Roman in the first place? if they say they listen to their fans and your fans don't want him.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Well, I think it's just a case of when Vince and the company actually find who they think is that one guy, you're going to be hard pressed to convince them not to push him. I mean, this, whether we like it or not. Okay, here's my thing. The Royal Rumble could have been a lot better if, number one, it had been more competitive. I mean, you had Dean Ambrose and Dolph Ziggler and Bray Wyatt, sacks of garbage.
Wow, it seems like somebody's not a fan for Bray Wyatt.
I mean, they look. I mean, I didn't mean that against Bray Wyatt. It's just you had them be eliminated like chumps. Dean Ambrose, of all people, did not go out fighting. He got thrown out like a rag doll.
Yeah, that is true.
People way too.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, what was your reaction when Daniel Bryan got eliminated like halfway through the Rumble?
I was pissed. I was so pissed off.
Like, holy shit.
I was like, you know what? The messed up part is, it's like you knew that when Daniel Bryan was eliminated, that told you right then and there who was going to win. And that's the one part that pissed me off. I like to go into the Rumble not knowing. I don't like being right going to the Royal Rumble. I don't want to know. But when you knew that Daniel Bryan was going to be eliminated, you knew who they were going to choose. You just knew. And I'm like, dang it, man. It's like it sucks all the fun out of it. Not to mention how it just wasn't competitive at all. It was just there. And
I think that Roman Reigns would get better. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think Roman Reigns would get better reactions, or he would have been built better. Okay. Do you agree or disagree that it was stupid to split the Shield up, have Seth and Dean adapt music and new looks, and have Roman literally be
the same Shield guy? Yeah, it was stupid.
Yeah.
That was stupid.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
The same attire, the same music,
the same attitude. Yeah. It was dumb. They should have completely revamped, reinvented his character. I'm like, if you split the Shield up, for crying out loud, have the freaking Shield split. Like, we know they're not going to get back together because, number one, Seth Rollins got a lot more going for him without him being a part of the Shield. Dean Ambrose is a hot ticket, even though people don't take him seriously without the Shield. And now Roman Reigns is being pushed because he's a big dude, not to mention he's a cousin of The Rock.
If Dolph Ziggler flips heel, I think Dean Ambrose could be a number 2 babyface. I really do.
I really don't want Dean Ambrose to be a babyface because it works better as him being a lunatic fringe. I don't want him to be a babyface.
Or just be a psychotic in-betweener. That's fine.
I don't want a psychotic. I mean, it's like in-betweeners. Ugh. I mean, that's another thing. I guess that we'll probably talk about that in our wild card moment because I'm gonna rant about the whole character of tweeners. But
let's go to Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, let's go to Daniel Bryan. But I guess before we transition to that, did anybody here see SmackDown besides Ervin? I know you haven't seen SmackDown yet, but Brandon, have you seen this past SmackDown?
Yeah, with the tag team turmoil.
Yeah. Did you notice that how they were trying to make Roman Reigns a babyface and how they tried to make Daniel Bryan a heel? And then they kind of reversed it and then went back again?
No, if the rumors are true, which, granted, spoiler, the internet is always right. But if the rumors are true, Daniel Bryan is going to turn heel at FastLane.
Oh, gosh.
Which is bullshit.
And I guess it kind of leads to FastLane now.
Really. Gotta flip one of them. It should be Reigns, not Bryan.
Yeah, that would make sense. Cause here's the one thing that was kind of twisted about SmackDown, and I'm not gonna give too much away, Ervin. So if you want to go back and watch, you can. I'm just gonna give like a little bit. It's gonna be kind of. It's gonna have a point to the topic we'll talk about without me spoiling it for you. But in a tag team turmoil match, Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan were paired together, and they had to go against a whole bunch of tag teams. One of them, of course, being Roman Reigns' cousins, the Usos. Now, the one thing that I was trying to figure out is how, okay, you allow this guy to keep his Shield gimmick. He was kind of like, he was kind of like the brute. Like, he was the brute force. Like, he was the dude that would go after you guns a-blazing. And he don't care who he run through. And he don't respect nobody, no trust nobody. He was kind of like somewhat kind of teeter-tottering between an anti-hero and a heel. But either or, how in the world are you going to develop a conscience in the middle of the ring to not hurt the Usos because they're your cousins and you don't want to hurt them, and and Daniel Bryan is trying to win, and how you don't always say, no, he's hurt, put him back in the ring and do it right. I'm like, okay, if you put him back in the ring and do it right, Daniel Bryan's going to do the same exact thing in the ring until he can pin him. And I'm like, why in the world do they actually have Roman Reigns develop a conscience in the middle of the ring? Knowing how proud and how honorable the Samoan tribes are, especially in their strength. Isn't that kind of insulting them if they're on the same level as you, that you're not going to...
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Actually, Samoans would be insulted that Daniel Bryan didn't come after him.
Exactly.
And that Roman didn't come after him.
Exactly. So I'm like, why the heck are you developing a conscience when you have a strong Samoan heritage, and Samoans are proud and honorable and strong, and they'll be pissed at you if you don't give them all you got. And I'm like, okay, if that's supposed to be the case, and that's supposed to run in the blood, and you're going to mention that, then why in the world is Roman becoming such a wuss? Like, seriously. He turned into a straight up girl in the middle of the ring.
If they would have built him up,
I don't know, but it's like, I guess I've noticed that they made Daniel Bryan's always been an aggressive guy in the ring, but for me, that whole match, as great as that SmackDown was, and it was a great show, it just seems like at Raw they made Roman Reigns kind of tease to be a heel. Now on SmackDown, they kind of teased Daniel Bryan to be a heel. Now, from one of the other, leading to FastLane, seeing how there's like there's like a mixed bag between the crowds. Do you guys see Roman Reigns to be the guy to take it, or do you see Daniel Bryan? And how do you feel if Daniel Bryan was the one to win instead of Roman Reigns?
First on if Roman Reigns won. If he won, I would, at this point, I'm sort of split. On one hand, while I didn't want him to win the Royal Rumble because of the way he was built up and I felt he wasn't ready, at this point, though, I think WWE should just go with a guy and stick with it. I don't think they should turn neither man heel at this point. I think if they go with Roman Reigns, just build him up properly. Have Daniel Bryan get him over, give a great match at FastLane, have the two be respectful at the end, go their own way, and just do something with Roman from here on out, other than the half-assed job they have been doing. If it's Daniel Bryan, which in the situation with Daniel Bryan, although I'm a Daniel Bryan fan, and I would love to see Daniel Bryan versus Brock Lesnar, my thing is, I would also be thinking you should have went with him at the Rumble in the first place, and you wouldn't be in this mess. Vice versa, you should have built up Roman a lot better, and then maybe him winning wouldn't have went over as bad as it did. But my feeling is, at this point, either way, I just want a good story and a good build-up to WrestleMania. I don't really care which one it is. Obviously, I'm biased towards Daniel Bryan, but if it's Roman Reigns, so be it.
Well, Brandon, what is your views on it? Because I know you said that it's gonna probably be unpopular, so I'm curious. Like, what are your views on this?
Okay. Okay. So, to put it simply, in regards to Roman Reigns winning, I want him to win. And in terms of Daniel Bryan winning, fuck that shit.
Why do you say that?
Because I am so sick and fucking tired of every time Daniel Bryan doesn't get something. Every time I log on to my freaking YouTube, it's 10 videos from 10 different people. Fuck WWE. We want Daniel Bryan. Oh my god. Fucking
Don't hold it in. Let it all out, because you know you want to.
let me make it clear to all you people that rioted, that blocked the wrestlers in, that canceled your freaking network because your guy didn't win. Grow the fuck up. You make all of us look bad when you do that shit. Oh, he didn't win a scripted event. We're gonna act like a bunch of little 2-year-old crybabies. Yeah, I would knock your fucking teeth out if I saw some of you.
Really? Wow.
Damn.
Yeah.
The network canceling thing, okay, I kind of get that. Because sometimes the only way to get somebody's attention is to hit them in the pocketbook. But to do the rioting thing and to block the wrestlers into the building, yeah, that was going too far. I agree. That was going too far. I didn't like that Daniel Bryan didn't win the Royal Rumble myself, but I would not have done that. That was bullshit.
Yeah, and let's make it clear. I'm not directing this at anybody that's just saying, "Oh, I'm bummed that he didn't win. He should have won." That's fine. What that little rant was directed at every single one of the people that flipped out like the world was ending because Daniel Bryan didn't win the freaking Royal Rumble.
Honestly, okay. I I completely I hear what you're saying, Brandon, and I hear what you're saying, Ervin, but I'm gonna be honest here, just like you guys were. Like for me, when I saw Daniel Bryan get eliminated early in the game, especially how non-competitive it was, and also months prior, it's a given that nobody really wanted Roman Reigns to win anyway. And yeah, I get pissed off from people like, "Oh, you're a bunch of butthurt fans that are just mad at your guy didn't go." It's not even that. It's like literally going to. It's like going to McDonald's or going to some kind of a fast food place, getting your order, and then somehow you get something else instead. Like if you order a Big Mac, you end up getting a quarter pounder with cheese instead, or you order like a Frosty at Wendy's and then you just get like something else. Like you don't really get what you asked for. So in a way, I kind of necessarily understand why they're pissed. And shoot, if I'm this satisfied by a product, then yeah, I'm not going to continue to give you my money. I'm going to cancel it. Even if it means that my guy didn't win and it does piss me off and I don't want to watch it anymore, I don't have to. They got that right. But as for the rioting, it did get out of hand. That was a bit much. But hey, they were in Philly. We know how passionate Philly fans can be. And not really excusing that, but we know that that's happened before. And I guess it does sound like I'm condoning that behavior, but I'm not. But the thing is, it's like, and not that I agree with how they did it. It's just that honestly, nobody really asked for Roman to win. Nobody really asked for Roman when he returned. It was kind of the same thing. It was kind of the same opening feeling like it was when Batista came back. When Daniel Bryan put his name in the hat that he was going to be in the Rumble, everybody flipped out. People were happy. Nobody really asked for Roman Reigns to even be the top guy, and the fact that he was put in so early without feeling like after us seeing Daniel Bryan literally earn his way up, and Roman Reigns looked like he was handed to him. Yeah, that's gonna piss people off. But I kind of see where you guys are coming at. But honestly, I don't know. I don't agree.
And that's all I was trying to say. I apologize if that offended anybody. But again, just to make it crystal clear, if you're respectfully saying, like Regina just said, Daniel Bryan should have won, and I think it sucks that he didn't, fine. That's your right. And I honestly, in a way, I kind of agree. Maybe he should have. I don't think he should have, but you know what? I can kind of see their argument. But to every single one of you that acted like the world was ending, grow the fuck up before you make wrestling fans look even worse than we already do in the public eye.
Okay.
That crap was on CNN. Do you have any idea how that makes us look? Oh my.
Yeah. I will admit it did get out of hand, and I kind of can feel I kind of can feel
Okay.
you. I feel you there. I do. And yeah, the fact that
We
CNN did put it on there was bad. It was really
we
bad.
gotta change subjects before I pop a brain vessel.
Okay, okay. Moving from Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan to the match that was supposed to be at WrestleMania, and instead of it being on WrestleMania, it's on FastLane to a mediocre build, as well as to a vast response. Lord knows why. I'm talking about Sting and Triple H. Ervin, you know how I feel about Sting, so I'm gonna do my best not to rant here, but I ain't gonna make any promises. But how do y'all even feel about this match? Because I literally forgot it was on the card. There was barely zero build to this. Zero.
Is it a full match? I thought it was just a face.
No,
I think it's a face-to-face confrontation.
They actually, before, there was rumors that it was going to be a match, but I'm like, why the heck are you going to have a face-to-face on a pay-per-view? Why waste that time? It can go to a decent match. Save that crap for WrestleMania. Not to mention that Sting itself, the whole Crow character, my gosh, it's been 21 years since the Crow came out in 1994. You can reinvent that character if you wanted to. That response was stupid. I'm sorry. Am I the only one that thought that dumb response that Sting had was stupid? That he could have literally had a face to face and said something?
Hate to say it, but
I think
might be the only one that thinks that. I actually like the response.
Yeah, I did too, actually.
Gosh, once again, I'm the odd woman out. I'm the odd woman out when it comes to Streak, and I'm the odd woman out when it comes to Sting. But my own personal views of Sting aside.
Yeah, and I'll say this on Sting. No. We just disagreed on who should have beat the streak, really. As far as the streak ending, you know, sooner or later it was going to happen. And I don't want to get off subject, but no, you're not the odd person out. But I'll say this on Sting and Triple H. On one hand, I can see why this is happening, storyline wise. On the other hand, though, most people, it's surprising amount, they don't want to see Sting versus Triple H. They want to see Sting versus The Undertaker, but we already know Undertaker more than likely is going to be facing Bray Wyatt.
Gosh, this is just.
Which I'm cool with that as long as Bray Wyatt goes over.
I'm not freaking cool with that at all. And I guess to get off the subject of Sting, but I really can care less because I can't freaking stand the guy. But personally, having Sting there, and I mean, I guess going back to the subject of Sting and leading on up to Taker and Bray Wyatt, I guess that's our wild card. But either or, like, Sting, his whole purpose was to come back and face Taker because he wanted to go out with one last hurrah. WrestleMania was supposed to be his last match ever. And that's why he came back. It took him how many years for his butt to show up, and then all of a sudden he shows up after Taker's gone and demands Taker to come back to face him? Really?
Well, funny story about that. Supposedly this year they're going to go with Bray versus Taker, and then WrestleMania 32 is when Sting and Taker is happening.
Are you joking?
Which, even though I don't want to really see Sting versus The Undertaker, I personally think, and this is all due respect to Bray Wyatt, you got Sting and Undertaker both under contract with WWE. Why not do the match now? Because who knows what's going to happen in a year, especially at their ages.
What happens if Undertaker accidentally ruins himself in that match and can never wrestle again?
Gosh, the man freaking had a concussion at WrestleMania 30. He had to be carted out in an ambulance. Ugh, it just pisses me off to no end for the selfishness of Sting to come back for one last hurrah like everybody freaking cares. Well, I guess maybe I'm the only one that don't. just so he can have his glory match so he can leave. The guy could barely stand. I actually witnessed this man being taken out in a gurney. He had a freaking concussion when he left. He cannot wrestle the same way he did in his prime. And we all know that Bray Wyatt is not going to win because it's going to piss people off. People are going to see Taker and want Taker to win. And if Taker don't win, they riot. That's how it's going to be. It's a lose-lose.
Would they really... What reaction
I don't think
they
they
get if Undertaker loses?
Gosh.
If Undertaker loses 2 years in a row, what is going to happen?
They're going to freaking cancel they're going to lose so much money, it's going to be ridiculous. You already had 3,000 people leave after Taker's streak ended. What, like 2,000 people left when Taker's streak ended. You had 2,000 people leave. And you probably have more than one television shut off. Lord knows what will happen if he loses twice. There's no way. It's a lose-lose. They're not going to have Taker lose. They will be stupid if they do.
I gotta respectfully disagree with you on that. This time around, if it's the Bray Wyatt, I don't think people will have as much of a problem. In fact, you could argue that it should have been somebody like Bray Wyatt that should have beat him last year rather than Brock Lesnar.
I don't know. It's like, as much as I love Bray, Bray's not at that, he's not at that performance caliber when it comes to Taker. Like, he's just now getting better.
But I would hate for him to be built up. I would hate for him to be built up like that, only to be fed to Undertaker.
That's the thing. It's like, the reason why I say it's a lose-lose, because number one, it's going to be a huge backlash from the crowd, period. Number two, Taker is not at his prime anymore. The guy can barely fight. And if he fights, he's got to give it his all. And his all is probably not that much. And number three, it'll be great for Bray, but I just don't see Bray winning. He has to put on a good match to make him look good. But do I see him actually going over? No freaking way. This is Undertaker. It's bad enough that his 21-year streak is over. It's going to make it seem even more meaningless if he actually came back, because he really doesn't have anything to fight for. The only person he needs to fight is Brock Lesnar. He don't need to fight those two randos. No offense to Bray. I love me some Bray, but they're randos compared to what he went through with Brock. There's really no need for Taker to fight them, storyline-wise, at all. So bringing him back is pointless. Having him lose is not so great, because they're going to lose money. And I hate to say what the WWE always says, that would not be good for business. Yeah, I said it.
Well, supposedly they want to wait until WrestleMania 32 to do Sting and Taker, just kind of navigating back to Sting a little bit. They want to do that because it's going to be in Texas, and they want to induct Undertaker into the Hall of Fame that year.
Yeah, you don't want to mess with Texas. You don't want to mess with Texas at all. So if it's, because I think it is, and it is going to be in Dallas. WrestleMania 32 is going to be in Dallas. So yeah, I don't think that they would be that stupid to allow him to lose. So I don't really see Taker losing at all for WrestleMania 32. 31, I don't even know what's going to happen. I really don't. I don't see at all what's going to happen from there. But I guess now that we pretty much kind of fumed most of how we felt about about Taker, and even though we barely kind of touched the surface of Triple H. So I think it was all about Sting and then went to Taker, but I don't think we touched the surface with Triple H. Like, how do you guys personally feel about Triple H now?
I want to know what your beef is with Sting.
Oh, you want, okay. My beef with Sting is this. How in the world would somebody literally vow that they would never step foot in the WWE ring to this and decide years later, after Taker's prime, after Taker retires, that I want to face Sting in my final match for my retirement? Because when he faces Sting, that's supposed to be Sting's final match, period. He wanted to face the best. He wanted to face Taker. He demanded Taker. That's the reason why Sting actually came to WWE, because he wanted to go out with a bang. Instead of doing it while he was in, the Taker was in his prime, he decided to wait years later. Not to mention, for those that actually have seen him in TNA, the guy can't hold his own in the ring. Let's be real. He can't hold his own in the ring without help. These days. Back in his WCW days, he was great. Now he can't hold his own. He can't hold water in the ring. But besides all that, I just think that's very selfish of him, as well as very vain of him, to wait years later to go and face Taker after Taker's beaten up and beaten down, and when he finally retires, to get him out of retirement to make him look good. That's the one thing that pisses me off about Sting. And also, his Crow character is the same outdated Crow character that came out when the movie came out 21 years ago. He hasn't revamped anything. He revamped himself, what, how many times in TNA? He couldn't do it here. He couldn't do it in WWE. He's still doing that outdated Crow thing with the whole response on the monitor.
You want Joker Sting?
I'd rather not even see Joker Sting. I'd just rather see a new and improved kind of revamped Sting without him stealing characters from movies. Have some originality, for crying out loud. But either or, my biggest beef with him is that it just seems so vain and selfish of him just to try to get a guy out of retirement for him to look good, for him to go out with a bang. And that's the reason why he chose Taker. And I guess that's my main beef with Sting. It's just, you know, that's just the most selfish thing I ever heard. But that's just me.
Just rerouting to what we were originally talking about. I didn't mind Sting's message to Triple H, because it's just like, that is something that you need, that Triple H has always been the king of, getting into people's heads. He's called the cerebral assassin. So the fact that Sting has rattled Triple H, I think just adds another element to this feud.
I guess, but then you can also debate that Triple H is no longer the cerebral assassin. Like, he was a cerebral assassin back in the day, during the Ruthless Aggression era, and dare I say the McMahon-Helmsley, one of my least favorite eras. But even now, you can't necessarily say he's a cerebral assassin. He's kind of been, I don't even want to say neutered, but he's kind of been, like, downgraded compared to Stephanie. While it seemed like Stephanie kind of taking his place. So even if Sting kind of got in his head, it's like getting in the head of a 5-year-old. Seriously, compared to what he could have done when Triple H was at his prime. That's just me. I don't know. Maybe I'm being a bit of a cynic, but that's how I see it. What are y'all's thoughts?
Honestly, this, like I said, from a storyline standpoint, this makes the most sense, rather than have Sting and Taker. And I've said this on other videos too. Sting Taker, that's the fan in me that would like to see that. In terms of an actual match, though, we at least know, while Triple H isn't what he used to be, Triple H, we know, can still carry a match. And he certainly would help carry Sting.
That's true.
I have less problem with it, even though the fan in me would love to see Sting and Undertaker. But my only problem with Sting and Undertaker is it's not the match that it would have been 15, 20 years ago. It's not even the match it would have been even back at WrestleMania 27 when they originally wanted to have the match. And rumor was they was wanting to put him in the Hall of Fame, referring to Sting as well. But then Sting decided to opt out and go with TNA. And the excuse he used at the time, and I'm kind of getting off the track here, off of Triple H, off Sting, but the excuse he used at the time was that, oh, well, I'm not sure how WWE would handle my character, which was a bunch of BS. I'm kind of Regina in that respect. I think Sting was just full of it on that one. He wanted to wait till now when Undertaker really wasn't what he was to actually do the match or possibly do the match. Now, back to Triple H, I think that Triple H, this is of course another name on his belt that he could say he worked with, because as many people say, Triple H has always been the guy who worked with the guys that made money. I mean, he's a legend, no doubt about it, but he was never the guy, in my opinion. He was a top star, but he was never the guy that really made the money, in my opinion.
Well, I don't know. I mean, there was always something about him that kind of made you want to watch. So I guess in a way you can kind of say that he was the guy, even though he wasn't really so much the guy at the time. He just built into the guy. Brandon, you have any thoughts about this match with Triple H and Sting?
I hope that, considering they're taking time out of FastLane for a freaking promo between the two, I hope that the match at WrestleMania is actually worth the wait.
Yeah. And I guess we can probably transition now into WrestleMania, now that it's pretty much officially the road to WrestleMania season. We literally have a full month until WrestleMania 31 hits San Francisco on the 29th of March. But my overall feeling is this: does it even feel like the road to WrestleMania? Because that was just something that was palpable. Like, that was just a feeling in the air, like energy for any wrestling fan. They just knew when the season hit. And now I just don't really feel much of anything. Like, there was barely any promotion. There was so much speculation, but no confirmation at all for any of these matches. And even for the pay-per-views leading on up to it, like, Rumble fell flat for me. And also FastLane. I'm hoping FastLane don't feel flat, because FastLane has somewhat of a decent card. But does it feel like the road to WrestleMania to y'all?
Not really. Not yet. But remember, last year didn't feel like the road to WrestleMania until about the last maybe 3 or 4 weeks beforehand.
Yeah, but then we also had the streak. So, and everybody...
Which we do not have.
Yeah, we don't have that now. So, now that the streak is gone, this is something that's completely new. And everybody was looking forward to the streak and wondering if Taker was going to lose, even though, yeah, I'm going to say it, I called it. But regardless, we had the streak to look forward to. Now that we don't, like, now what? Like, what are your thoughts, Brandon?
Well, I mean, it's just going to be a real boring road to WrestleMania to me. Yeah, Undertaker will probably doesn't have a streak, so why do I care again? Oh, so Bray Wyatt can get a great victory that ultimately won't mean jack shit, because Vince and his stupid company won't do anything with it.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, we know that when it came to Taker would usually make his appearance after the Rumble. Like, it's either maybe he would probably be hinting his return maybe before the Rumble, but after the Rumble you would see him. And you would know what was going to happen and who his victim would be and who he would choose to go against him to fight in the streak. But now he's nowhere to be found. The only possible way we would know is if it happens after Fastlane. But I don't know. Like, there's so many things thrown up in the air, especially the fact that there could be a possible change with the main event, that the main event might be a triple threat match between Brock Lesnar, Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns, and Daniel Bryan. It might be a triple threat. I'm hoping they don't pull a WrestleMania 29 and cut at least 5 matches within an hour. Not to mention with this, and as much as I would absolutely love to see Daniel Bryan face Brock, my biggest concern is that if Brock faces Roman and Daniel Bryan, then there's going to be more focus on one individual than the other. And I feel that Roman Reigns is going to be knocked out. Like, he's just going to be non-existent in the match. It's going to be all about Daniel Bryan. I think it's going to be one-sided. It's either going to be all about Roman or all about Daniel. And I'm kind of hoping that won't be the case. It needs to be one-on-one. Especially at the end, we know it's going to be a winner. But what are your thoughts on the possibility of a triple threat match at WrestleMania 31?
Eh, really, it shouldn't be a triple threat. I think that whoever wins it needs to beat Brock Lesnar one-on-one. Like, there's going to be that whole stigma of, oh, you only won because I helped soften him up.
Yeah. I mean, that's true. And also with the possibility of them turning Daniel Bryan heel, there could be a possibility that Daniel Bryan is not going to allow Roman Reigns to win, and Brock may keep the belt. It could be that possibility.
I'm kind of with Brandon on this, and I've said this in my own videos. I don't want to see it become a triple threat match. It should be either Bryan or Roman, one of the two. It should not be a triple threat match. That worked last year because Daniel Bryan was so over, and plus nobody wanted to see Batista. So they created the stipulation to give the winner Bryan Triple H the third slot in the main event. That worked. That won't work this year. No. I think it should be one or the other.
Plus, with everything going down the way it did, they had to make the outcome the way they had to make it. And they did it well. Like I said, with Daniel Bryan's build, with his whole storyline was great. They did a great job in making this guy likable because you can see his struggle. They did a great job with that. But they need to, but like you guys said, it needs to be one-on-one, and it shouldn't be, it shouldn't be a triple threat because it's going to put more focus on one guy or the other anyway, and it's still going to be a bit off. So, I mean, I kind of agree with what you guys are saying. But now that we kind of got the main topics out the way, there are a few wild cards I know you guys want to talk about. And I know that with Ervin, one of them was NXT. And the last pay-per-view that was on.
Yeah. And I'll just start off with, just quick overview, just quick opinions. A couple of them are going to turn into rants. I will tell you that right now. First match I saw, Otami versus Tyler Breeze. Solid opener. Didn't knock my socks off, but I was cool with it. And I will say I do like how they're building Otami, especially teasing the GTS, which diehard wrestling fans, and that seems to be who's mainly watching NXT, diehard wrestling fans know that he invented the GTS, and they want to see it. So when he does see it, it's going to be a huge pop when he does finally do that move to somebody. I hope it's in a big match or a big match situation. Yeah. Now, as for the next match, no disqualification, Baron Corbin versus Bull Dempsey. Worst match of the show. And I don't want to give away, but I mean, Brandon knows what I'm talking about. You don't, Regina, so I don't, just showing you the same courtesy that you showed me on SmackDown. I don't want to give away what happened, but suffice to say, it was pretty damn bad. And plus this Bull Dempsey. Now, I am impressed with Baron Corbin. But Bull Dempsey, and I told you this off camera, so to speak, Nature Girl. I told you this. Bull Dempsey sucks dick. They're trying to make him a type like a Rusev or a Vladimir Kozlov. And may I say, both of them kick his ass. This is how much Bull Dempsey to me sucks as a wrestler. Robbie E is better than Bull Dempsey.
Ooh.
And I can't stand Robbie E or the Bromance. But any one of those guys are better wrestlers than freaking Bull Dempsey. If there's a good match featuring Bull Dempsey, please point it to me. Please let me see it. Because from what I've seen, I am not that impressed. The guy sucks.
Oh my God.
Anyway, the tag match, Lucha Dragons versus Blake and Murphy. Solid tag team match. Wasn't knock your socks off once again, but it was good. the number one contendership match between Aaron Neville and Finn Balor. Both these guys impress me every time I see them. I'm definitely becoming a fan of Adrian Neville. The four-way women's match for the NXT Women's Championship. Let me say this: the matches that the NXT Divas have, pretty much ass rapes the WWE main roster Divas do.
Gosh, dude, go to extremes.
It's a great example of that. Yeah, they pretty. No, I'm serious. I watched that match. I'm like, damn, this reminds me of TNA knockouts back in the day. I mean, they do. They pretty much butt rape anything the Divas these days do. Because, I mean, these girls are gorgeous, of course, are cute, even hot. But here's the thing. They could actually get in the ring and perform because they're allowed to perform. They don't do that with the Divas. The Divas, all they do is get model-looking women. I mean, they look great, but they don't provide too much beyond that. And then, of course, the main event of Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn. Everybody's comparing this to John Cena versus Brock Lesnar from 2014 in terms of Owens basically dominating the match.
What, in SummerSlam?
All I will say is this. All I will say is this. Zayn, I will bet you, though, had way more offense than John Cena had against Brock Lesnar. And I'll leave it at that. It is a recommended show for me.
Wow. For that alone, I guess for some of the shows I'm definitely going to watch anyway. I'm still a big fan of NXT, especially the Divas division. I think it's phenomenal by far. I can't stress enough for NXT TakeOver how Natalya versus Charlotte made me so happy. Like, I was so happy when I saw that. And I forgot that there was going to be a four-way, which I'm going to have to go back and watch that because I forgot it came on Wednesday and not Thursday. I got the days confused. But, Brandon, is there any wild cards you want to talk about?
There's that little rumor that management doesn't like Charlotte.
What? Come on.
Ain't this so... Ooh, shit.
Trademark Ervin.
I mean, I'll admit, Charlotte, I've tried, just as a man, I've tried to look at her like, she got an all right body and everything, but she's not exactly a looker. But you know what? I don't need lady wrestlers to always look good and be models. I need them to be great personalities and great wrestlers. And Charlotte fits that bill, definitely. She's a great performer in the ring, and she's got great character. Plus, she's the daughter of Ric freaking Flair. That's money in and of itself. You're trying to tell me you can't market that because, she doesn't fit our supermodel image. Man, tell Kevin, and I'm not gay in the very least, but tell Kevin Dunn to suck my dick and lick my balls till they choke on that bullshit.
Okay. Don't put that image in my head, man. No, let's not. Like, let's not go. I really don't want that image in my head. But, yeah, and I think...
But, if that was true, they could kiss my ass. That is so dumb.
I don't want that image in my head either.
Kevin Dunn, Vince, and whatever fossils that are in the office that actually think that, go fuck yourselves.
Seriously. That's just ridiculous. And I think that's what their problem is now.
I'll give Rikishi a couple of do to him what Rock and Rikishi did to Vince.
Oh, gosh.
Back during the waning days of the Attitude Era.
Oh. When Rikishi, the Sting face. Ugh.
Yeah, ending of the Kiss My Ass Club. Classic segment from SmackDown, by the way.
Yeah, but shoot, just thinking of Rikishi's giant, that thing's literally a planet, and just imagining that, oh, gosh, But yeah, I kind of feel you there. But it's just ridiculous. The biggest problem that the WWE is having now is that they're not looking at these women as being talented. They're only looking for their looks and only looking for them being valets or managers. I mean, for crying out loud, I couldn't stand the bra and panties matches of the Attitude Era. And I can say that the only reason why that I love some of the divas now is because of Trish and Lita. They actually took them seriously because they knew how good they were, despite how great they looked. And they were the only two divas that pretty much had a decent feud. As much as I love Chyna and that nobody can match her even on their best day, there was only one point in time that she was taken seriously, and that was her match with Jeff Jarrett. That was the only time that when she was the only woman that won the IC belt, she was taken seriously then. But even during the Attitude Era, it was ridiculous. It was this flat out terrible and misogynistic. But now they're trying to say that the divas are all fierce and they're all independent and whatever, but you still have them looking like models and none of them, except for maybe a handful. And it's refreshing to see these women use submissions. Oh my gosh. It's so refreshing to see these women use submission holds instead of the standard roll up that they always do to win. It shows how much range they got. And I love seeing that. And that's why I love seeing Charlotte, because she's the only diva that's able to blend gymnastics in with a wrestling style fighting. That's unique. That's rare. That's a talent and a gift. It doesn't matter if she doesn't look like a supermodel. It matters how talented she is and how she can make your company look good. And she can make your company look good. My gosh. I hope they don't try to at least lower her to like zero level to where she becomes extinct. I'm hoping that they'll bring her up. But if what Brandon says is true, oh boy. Oh boy. Do you guys have any more thoughts?
Yeah.
Do you guys have any more thoughts? I'm just curious.
That's total garbage. In a way, though, I almost don't even want those NXT guys to go to the main roster. Just because just about everybody they've brought up so far, they have they're not what they were, or they out and out ruined them when they came to the main roster.
Yeah.
And on women in wrestling in general, they have had chances to let other women step up and build up because you saw some ability in them. But they would rather them be dainty models or brats or whatever.
Brats.
Yeah. Like they've had ones that they've screwed. Like, for example, currently, Nikki Bella. I never thought I would take up for the Bellas on anything. But Nikki has to be the most organic and best built heel in the women's division since Eve Torres a couple of years ago. And they are totally dropping the ball with her title reign, in my opinion.
I know how much you like Eve.
Oh, I miss Eve.
Oh gosh. I know how much you love Eve.
You never keep her too much, but seriously though, she's probably been the best built as far as a heel, and she's improved in the ring. Now, Brie Bella, I will say this: Brie Bella, in terms of overall, she's definitely more technical. We saw her match with Paige this past Monday, which, by the way, wherever they were, fuck that crowd that was at Raw that sat on their hands for just about everything. Paige and Brie Bella, although they only had like 5-7 minutes, they actually had a pretty good match, in my opinion.
It's to the point where you just gotta ignore the crowd. You just gotta ignore the crowd now and not take the crowd seriously. Because the crowd, and especially have the crowd ruin your good time. And I've actually seen this on Twitter, and I guess it's like part of my wild card. The one thing that kind of pisses me off is how people, and I'm actually seeing it on YouTube as well as on Twitter, that people are literally judging how good a show is by the crowd's response. And I'm like, that's just dumb. And the reason why I'm saying that is because every single town is different. Like you got your Philly crowd, which are hardcore people that are hard to please. You got your Chicago diehards. You got your college crowd that don't care about nothing really. And then you got the Florida crowd, which are happy for them to even be there. You know, every single town and city is different. So if you judge by the crowd alone, you're going to take the experience away from yourself. And you shouldn't be judging a show based on the crowd's response. It should be how you feel about the show itself, not so much about how everybody else thinks. And I'm seeing that a lot in reviews, and I don't know why.
In and of itself, but I'm just like, the crowd's always saying, "Oh, everything WWE's doing sucks and this and that." When in fact, if you look at the show, not quite everything. A lot of things, yeah, but everything, no. But if they see you're not responding, of course they're going to continue to put out just whatever.
What are your thoughts, Brandon?
I can't really comment. I can't really comment on main roster diva stuff because the last time I paid attention to them was when they were doing the lesbian teasing with Paige and AJ.
Okay.
Which thank you, Vince. Thank you, Vince, for never doing anything with that, you bastard.
I mean, honestly, what?
Damn.
What?
Now, that's a WWE Studios film I'd buy.
But what could he have done? Like, seriously, there's some. Oh yeah, by the way, we're not in the PG era anymore. We're in the reality era. We're in the reality era, folks.
Hey, did either of you get that?
Oh,
you ever picked that?
Like Triple H said
No. Did you hear did you hear the joke I said?
No, what?
I said Paige and AJ. Now there's a WWE Studios film that would sell.
Oh gosh.
Oh Lord.
Oh.
I'll say this.
I had to.
The ball
to do it.
Oh gosh.
They took the ball with that feud. I will say that.
But it was stupid. It was so stupid. I was fine when they dropped the ball. I was fine when they let it go. They've already messed it up from the beginning when they made Paige to be a docile pussycat when she should have been like a clawing, like feral animal, like literally gouging out the eyes of AJ instead of being like this docile cat. Like, I'm like, for crying out loud, can you just make her the anti-diva that she was when she was on NXT? Does she have to be make her all like, I wouldn't even consider that to be meek. I could consider that just to be weak. And it was just stupid. It was dumb going out. It was dumb going out there. Like, period. It was just stupid. And I was happy when it was over. But they could have done so much better with it. And they could have had some great matches. But once again, they dropped the ball. And when they added Nikki in it, it made it worse. It was just flat out dumb. And I was happy when that was over. But I am kind of curious to hear y'all thoughts about the new reality era, because there are people that still think we're in the PG era. There's people that still think that the WWE is under the PG era when we're technically under the reality era, and I'm not particularly sure what that means. I guess because when I saw the Stone Cold podcast, Triple H said that it was easier during the Attitude Era because people in the Attitude Era were a lot more accepting and a lot more accepting to what happened during the storylines. Like, whatever happens in the ring, they accepted it, they moved on. Not to mention the fact that the crowd was a lot more diverse. But now with the internet and everything blossoming out, and with the dirt sheets coming out on the internet and people knowing early that he considers it to be the reality era, because booking it now in reality is a lot harder now since people kind of have the inside intel. But I'm curious, what do you guys feel like we're in the reality era, and do you have a better definition of it than I do? Because I just pulled that out of my ear.
Oh, that's a good question. I would say we're definitely. I'd say we're definitely.
Yeah, I got nothing.
The era.
Yeah, it's like, in a way, it has a point, and the fact that the internet is out there, is hard to keep things a secret, especially that things get posted up so early. People take pictures, people have the inside stuff. So, but in a way, with the reality era, wouldn't the reality era make sense? Like, make something believable? Wouldn't that be considered to be reality? For example, wouldn't it make more sense reality wise to have a guy that's been out for 6 months to work his way back up instead of being handed superstar of the year? And yeah, I brought that up again. Wouldn't it be reality for a guy that's always booked as Superman to pretty much win every single time with barely any scratch on him? Is that reality? I don't know. Like he says with the reality era, and he pretty much talks about how, let's say, the YWC, IWC, the dirt sheets, everything online makes it difficult to book things in a reality's perspective, especially how people are starting to get wise about the lingo, getting wise about the business and all this other stuff, and booking it is hard. But and he calls it the reality era because he pretty much bases it off of, I guess, reality. But if you honestly use it in a reality way, okay, I guess when it comes to, and I guess I'm gonna stick to topic here, and I know I'm all over the place, but when it comes to the terms of reality, how would you book Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan to lead to WrestleMania? How would you book those two guys in a reality sense?
Okay.
Have it be a mutual respect deal. Don't make
So me and Brendan are on the same
one
page.
man turn heel.
No, not in this case. No. If I were gonna go with one of them being heel, it would be Roman Reigns. But I don't even think you should turn him heel at this point.
Yeah. I mean, I can kind of see that. For, like, I guess in a reality sense, like what Brandon said, make it a mutual understanding. Make it like a mutual respect, knowing that these guys know what they're going into when they go in. And in the end, whoever wins, they win out of respect, out of loyalty, shaking your hands, keeping it moving. And I kind of agree with that. Like, nobody should have to turn heel. They shouldn't have to turn heel in order to be a heel and a face in a match. It could be two faces in a match. It could be two heels in a match. Whatever your character is supposed to be like should stay that way. If Roman Reigns was a heel or an anti-hero going in, he should be a heel or an anti-hero going out. Same thing with Daniel Bryan. Depending on the circumstances. If the circumstances make you have to go and be a face, fine. You can do that as a natural transition. But it shouldn't be a face, a face, a heel versus a heel. It shouldn't have to be like that. It should be a little bit more organic. That's just me. In a reality sense. It would make more sense to me doing that. But that's just me. But guys, I think we pretty much talked as much as we could talk about all these situations until we pretty much have ranted ourselves out. But do you guys have any other closing thoughts?
Yeah. But as for how would you book them going into WrestleMania? Now, if it's Roman Reigns that wins, I would definitely book him to where he's strong but not too strong, and I would definitely put him at somewhat disadvantage. Like, for example, I've talked to Regina about this before. Like, for example, that Superman punch he uses, they use that in MMA all the time.
Yeah.
Brock, with his MMA training, would know how to counter that, and so would Spears. So I would book it to where Roman Reigns is a threat, but at the same time, I wouldn't let him look too strong for Brock, because I would want Roman to have an obstacle to overcome. Same thing with Daniel Bryan. And Daniel Bryan, it would even be easier to book it because of the size difference. I would book it much like the way they booked Brock Lesnar versus CM Punk. Yeah, I would book it that way. Now, as for who go over, either man is going to go over against Brock. I would definitely book them to go over against Brock. Now, the question is, what happens after the match? Most are thinking that Seth Rollins is probably going to cash in on whoever the champion is at the very end. Even if somehow they decide that Brock is going to go over. So, what does anyone think of that?
I think Brandon is playing Flappy Bird.
What?
You playing Flappy?
I'm trying to stay awake.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. I think we pretty much talked as much as we could about this. But we just want to know what.
All right.
It's now that Brandon's pretty much going to sleep. We pretty much talked what we could about this, and I know that you have to be exhausted from coming home so late. But guys, I do want to thank you for being a part of this audio. You guys have gotten a lot of things that I've had stuck in my brain for the last few days out, and it's always awesome for you guys to be in this audio. And y'all are just straight up awesome. And do you guys have any closing thoughts before we wrap this audio up?
That's my closing thoughts. Fuck Vince McMahon.
My closing thoughts to any wrestling fan that's listening, I would not saying you should necessarily turn on WWE, but check out other wrestling that's out there. Check out, I know it's under the WWE umbrella, but check out NXT and check out Lucha Underground. Heck, if you got Destination America, even check out TNA.
Yeah, for those that don't, which is me. I still don't have that stupid channel. Thank you. But anyway, But yeah, like Ervin said, like if you're interested in checking out other channels or other like wrestling revenues, by all means do. Like if you're like, especially NXT, which is really great wrestling, especially like for the it's kind of like a wrestling internship but better. And also, you know, if for those that love wrestling, if you like wrestling with storylines, you might not be into it. But for those that actually do like wrestling overall as a whole, you're going to enjoy other outlets. So definitely check them out. But Ervin, thanks so much for joining me on this audio. And Brandon, thank you so much for joining me on this audio. And I'm the Nature Girl 30. And with Brandon Goins and Ervin Griffin, thank you guys so much for listening. And we're done. Peace out.